I work with busy professionals who are tired of spending their time looking for things they know they already own, and
That's
are
me.
and they waste time and money, because time is money in a lot of professions. And I help them to look at what they own, to reassess what they really need in their life, so that they can live the lives that they truly want. So I help them do that by reducing the amount of clutter that they have, helping them to repurpose the items and reuse the items that they have in new and exciting ways. And also then to take and recycle. And by recycle, I don't mean necessarily taking to a recycling center, but also to find good homes for the things that they own and don't want to just throw out.
Well, let's pivot a little bit, Erin, and let's talk about how you've been building your business, because I think you're probably very similar to a lot of people who kind of grow into a profession and don't necessarily plan it as a, I'm guessing here, but you'll tell me if I'm right or wrong, that you probably didn't start out with a fully developed business plan. I mean, it probably morphed from, as you were telling the story earlier, that you were helping some people out and they were saying, hey, you're good at this, you should do this. And I think even people who go to graduate school and get professional training, I mean, one of my pet peeves from my own life story is that, you go through graduate training, I became a clinical psychologist, and no one spent a moment really saying to you, hey, you know what, when you leave here with your diploma, you're going to be a small business. I mean, unless you're going to be working for someone else. And so you just kind of have to make it up as you go along, and you're kind of looking, becomes the blind leading the blind, right? Because you're looking at other people who do what you do and you sort of follow in their footsteps, but who said that they knew what they were doing, right?
Exactly.
So how did you start building this as a business, and how did you start thinking about getting clients?
I actually did start out with a business.
Well, that makes you a rare person.
Now, it is a page and a half.
Well, but it's a plan. And so,
it is a plan.
Hey, of course, you're an organizer, right? You'd start by organizing what you're going to do. I should have known.
I had a dear friend who helped me. We sat down over lunch many, many times and figured out, okay, what do I want?
Yeah.
Because I didn't consider myself a marketing person. I considered myself incredibly shy. And how do I market this to people that I don't know?
Right.
I had never been to a networking meeting. I had never done any kind of video marketing or speaking. And I realized that somehow I needed to get the word out. And so the first thing I did was I sent out an email to everybody I know. Unfortunately, it was saying that I had broken my leg and therefore my business had to be put on hold.
Well, it's a form of marketing.
It was a form of marketing.
Sympathy marketing.
But through the email, what I did was I got a lot of people who said, gee, that's an interesting thing.
Right.
And so I got a couple of clients from friends who were friends. And from that, I got referrals. I then decided, okay, well, I needed to continuously talk about my business. And so whenever I walked into a room and people said, oh, what do you do? And I would tell them, it was like I'm constantly marketing.
Right.
It's never just, hi, how are you? I'm working, I'm knitting.
Right.
But one of the things that I also have learned is that I don't sell myself.
Well, I think you really hit on a great little definition, though, of the fact that people don't often think of marketing the right way. I think they think of sales, they think of advertising, but you're right. Marketing at its simplest is letting people know what you're doing.
Right.
It's part of. It can fit very smoothly into the context of any relationship, because you're right. The first thing when you meet a total stranger is, what do you do, right? And when you're meeting a friend or a colleague or someone who knows you, what have you been up to?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, the answers to those questions, are helpful to think of as marketing, so that you're making sure that you're actually keeping people up to date. It's not, hey, be my client. It's no, this is what I do, because odds are much more likely that they know someone that needs your help than they're going to volunteer necessarily themselves, but you never know.
Exactly.
So, sure.
But even more so, it's how can I help them?
Right.
How can I, when I'm talking to someone, I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know what's going on in your life, what's going on in your business. And is there a way that we can connect either personally, professionally, or can I use you as a resource if you have a skill, as you do with video marketing? Are there people that I know who could use your services? And in that way, I'm helping my clients.
Sure, being a connector, yeah.
I'm being a connector, exactly. And that's the way that I approach any networking situation when I'm out with a meetup group or with, you know, a women's professional networking group, whatever. How can I get to know you so that I know when I can refer someone to you or when I can use you as a source? Because a lot of what I do in my business is referrals, whether it's knowing a contractor for my client, knowing someone who will take a box of candle wax, and I don't know that until I know who I'm talking to.
Right.
So I never ask really, what do you do? I always ask, how do you spend your time? What do you do for fun? And in that sense, I get to know who the person is and whether I can be of help to them, whether they can be of help to me, and it's a reciprocal thing.
Right. Well, and I think you've also hit on a couple of other little nugget definitions in there that I sort of want to pull out and highlight. I mean, one is my simple definition of what is your business. I mean, if you're not solving a problem, then you don't really have a business, and so you're listening for problems that need solving, whether by you or by someone else. And you're being of service. You're helping. You're trying to, you know, connect and then connect that person to where. And that's that whole sort of, you know, giver's gain philosophy, right? I mean, you're. The other thing that I wanted to highlight there, though, is I think why people fear marketing / sales, right? Because their negative definition of sales is that you're going to try to sell me something I don't really need. And very clear in what you're, you know, talking about here is that that's not what you do.
Right.
And honestly, you know, that's not what any good salesperson does. I mean, the whole point is trying to be a good matchmaker and identify, do I have something that's useful to you because you've just told me that you have a problem, or do I know somebody else?
Right.
That's sales. That's good sales. But it doesn't feel like it, right? You're not showing up on saying, buy my stuff. You know, you don't even know if I need your stuff. So understanding the problems that you solve, listening for them, and then, you know, matching people up and saying, hey, you know, you said you need this. I think I might be able to help you out, either personally or with a colleague that I can refer you to, right?
And I have actually a story that goes along that really illustrates that. I was at every year we do a New Year's Day party at my mother-in-law's, and or my in-laws, I should say, and friends of ours were there, and somebody I've known for 20-something years was there, and he said, yeah, how are things going? What are you up to? Same kind of thing. And I was talking. He said, yeah, tell me a little bit more about what you do, because I really don't know what you do. And so in the process of talking, he said, you know, I may give you a call in a couple of weeks, which he did.
Right. Excellent.
Which he did. And I worked with him for several months, and that was it. And then we kept in touch, and we kept in touch because we were friends, but we also kept in touch. He receives my newsletter every month, so I'm always in the forefront of his mind. He then called me and said, I'm getting new carpeting, and I need to clear the entire space, and I need somebody to organize that. I'm not going to be in town. I need somebody who's going to be here who can oversee the moving of the furniture. Do you know anything about that? Can you refer? And I said, you know, I know a great company.
Just so happened to, yeah.
I know a great company who does small things like this, moving company, who will move everything into the other room and then move it back once you've got your, and so not only was I able to help my client, but I was also able to make the referral to a different company, to TNT, who was able to get the business as well. And that's the kind of thing I do. Yeah,
no, it's a great feeling, and it's networking in action, right? I mean, and it's the best possible kind of marketing and sales, you know. I mean, because you're actually being the salesperson for this other company, right? And you're creating, at the same time, you're actually not just a referral, but you're a testimonial, basically, in the moment that you're sort of recommending that other person. But also in that little description of that story, I mean, you know, in what you're answering that person's question about, you know, tell me a little bit more about what you do, right, is what he asks you. And then you mentioned a newsletter. I mean, these are education-based marketing approaches, which, you know, is certainly my favorite way to go, is that, you know, you you want to find the best possible match between the problem you solve and the person with that problem. And one of the awesome ways to do that is to just teach people how to use your skills, how to use what you do, and they will then naturally invite themselves to contact you, right?
Exactly. And one of the things that people have said is, if you could describe yourself in any way, what would be like one word that you would use? And I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love teaching. That's where I started out my career as an early childhood educator. I've worked in a Hebrew school as an administrator and always teaching. Mm-hmm. But that's what I do, and that's how I approach my business as an organizer, is how can I give you the skills so that you can continue what it is that you need to do when I'm not there.
Well, I can't wrap up our conversation without focusing a little bit on video specifically, since video is, what I enjoy doing and what we're doing right now. So, are you doing anything with video? Do you have plans to do anything with video? You are doing things that I'm certainly going to say lend themselves to video.
They do, and I've come a long way as somebody who's been videophobic.
Here we have you on camera right now.
Here you have me on camera, and I think that it is a very vital way of marketing. Mm-hmm. Because if people can see who I am,
right,
and they put a face to what I'm saying. I mean, it's one thing for me to send out a newsletter. It's one thing for me to send out a list of how-tos.
Right.
But you don't get a sense of who I am mm-hmm. unless you really can see me on video. Also, it's a good marketing tool because if I put something on YouTube, YouTube is owned by Google, and therefore
right.
you get better ratings.
Reach. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the only people who get to see your personality without it are the people who you're already physically meeting, and that's a very small ability to reach. Speaking is great. I mean, because you're at least multiplying your time into an audience and people referring to you. But of course, what I'm going to say is if you're speaking, how hard is it to have a couple of cameras recording you while you're exactly. speaking? And now you get the double benefit of speaking to an audience, but then being able to kind of put that same exact experience out for the person to stumble across and find you. Right. Clearly there's more video in your future, I think.
There is more video in my future, and the thing that I like, having talked to you in the past about, I can have a video and then make it into smaller segments.
Exactly.
Because
right.
people's attention, as I've learned, I mean, I work in 2 to 3 hour chunks of time with people. Mm-hmm. Because after that, people's eyes glaze over and they make bad decisions yep. that they later regret. And I don't want that to happen. But people's attention spans are very limited. And so I don't want someone to sit there. I mean, one of the things I dislike most about videos that I've seen are they go on for 5 minutes mm-hmm. or 10 minutes, and I don't have the time.
Well, and that's the thing. So I mean, there's different video for different purposes. But yeah, if you're going to do an hour talk or training session, in front of an audience, and you record that whole thing, you're right. Very few people are going to necessarily sit there and watch the entire hour. Although, don't count it out, because obviously, if I'm really interested and it's exactly what I need, mm-hmm. I'll listen for 3 hours. I mean, if right. it's going to really help me out. But if I'm kind of surfing the web looking for nuggets of information, that hour-long presentation can be sliced and diced into as many little nuggets of question and answer or specific point you're making, and all of those become standalone videos simply by putting a little introduction and conclusion on it. So, and then you can introduce it and then invite people to come and watch the whole thing if they want, mm-hmm. or a more detailed segment. And it all gets to be repurposed, as you rightly said. Once you've recorded it, you can then think about, okay, well, yeah, that's right, I did that talk 2 months ago, and that little 5 minutes in that goes really well with the 10 minutes I just created over here. Well, you put them together.
Exactly.
You get to. But if you don't record it, you don't have that raw material. You have to, create it from scratch, which right. is a lot more work. So.
It is, and I've come a long way in terms of how I think about video as much more of a useful tool, a way of reaching people and telling people not only about what I do, but how I can help, because mm-hmm. that's what I'm all about. It's how can I help you reach your goals so that you can reduce the clutter in your life, reuse the things that you already own, repurpose them, recycle the stuff that you no longer want so that you can relax or do the things that you really want to do in your life.
Well, and there you have it. Rebrosco, reorganize. Appreciate you taking the time to join us and creating another Business Spotlight interview. So if you need some help reorganizing or any of those other re's that Ree just gave you, then she's the person to talk to. And obviously, you know, it's not so scary to do video, right? We just did
Correct.
it. And to do it in this format where you're just having a conversation about what you already do,
It's fabulous.
probably the easiest way in the world to do it. So appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully people will find some real value in some of the nuggets we're going to pull out of our conversation here today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.